I'm so thankful for our partnership with the Spot Athletics in Columbus, Ohio. Our offices and our studios are here, and because of our partnership, I get to offer you 10% off of any of their sport and life programs. That goes for athletes, that goes for adults, 10%. All you have to do is go to theSpotAthletics.com/get started and enter code unscripted10 in the comments. That's all you got to do. theSpotAthletics.com/get started, enter unscripted10 in the comments, and they'll get you started today. Now, here's JL with a little bit of his story.
I wasn't a great athlete growing up. There was a lot of kids with more natural talent than I had. After my freshman year of football, when I wasn't quite the star I always wanted to be, that's when I decided to start lifting weights. Joined the local gym, and I honestly had no clue what I was doing. Just kind of did what I saw in the magazines. I worked real hard, but after a few months of really not getting any stronger, I was really lucky because the gym manager, he took me under his wing and he showed me how to really train. After a few weeks, I kind of noticed I started getting a lot stronger. After a few years, I was playing college football, and now many years later, I'm a world champion in powerlifting. Honestly, I owe everything I've done athletically to that gym manager. And I started the Spot Athletics because I wanted to make that kind of impact on people's lives. Hi, I'm J.O. Holdsworth, founder and head strength coach at the Spot Athletics.
When I think about you, when I think about you, I can't thank you enough for your mercy and love. When I think about you.
Welcome to the Unscripted Podcast.
We're Tori and Shauna, and you're listening to our song called When I Think About You.
Available on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you enjoy your favorite songs.
But for now, let's listen in to your host
and our friend,
Aaron Conrad.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Unscripted from my studios here at the Spot Athletics in Columbus, Ohio. This is crazy. We're doing our very first in-person recording at the studios, and we're doing it with three-time returning guest, Kaitlyn Coffman. Miss Kaitlyn, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm used to looking at a camera or a Zoom and here we are. We're in the same room. This is wild.
It is a little weird. I'm not going to lie.
All right. So, three-time returning guests. Y'all have to go back and listen to other episodes because Kaitlyn has shared a lot. Our journey as friends and part of our team, part of our collective has been amazing. So y'all have to go back and listen to episode 1, episode 2. We're back for episode 3 because we have more to report, right? So let's start at the beginning. We were just talking about this offline. 2 months ago, yesterday, I was visiting you in the hospital. 2 months ago, what happened?
So 2 months ago, I was super sick. Didn't know what was wrong with me. I got tested for COVID, strep, all of that. They all came back negative. They just kind of gave me antibiotics and was like, oh, well, there you go. Well, I woke up around like 12:30 in the middle of the night with stabbing chest pain. Didn't know what was going on. Called my boyfriend because he kicked me out. Called my boyfriend.
Shoutouts.
Anyways, I called him and I was like, hey, I need you to take me to the emergency room. And I explained why. So he came, picked me up. I ended up going to the emergency room. They did some blood work, found out that I had myocarditis and mono. And they said that the cause of the myocarditis was because of the mono. So all of that happened. I was sent to Riverside Hospital. They ended up transferring me over to Ohio State, the Ross Heart Hospital, and we went from there. And then you came and visited me.
I did. And actually, we have to back up for a minute because I think since our last episode, you announced you were going to return for your 5th year.
Yes.
You were going to take your COVID year, your extra year, and return to Ohio State. You're graduating this month.
Yes.
In a few days.
On the 18th.
The 18th. So we're 2 weeks away from Kaitlyn being official college graduate. But Kaitlyn's going to graduate. So just to keep everybody up to speed, again, if you listen to 1 and 2, here's episode 3. And I forgot to mention that so you returned for your 5th year, because I think in our last episode, I don't think you were going to come back, but you did. And unfortunately, these circumstances took place and came to see you, and scary time, right? Like scary.
Yeah, it was very scary, especially when I was in the first emergency room that I went to. When they told me that I had mono, I was like, okay, whatever. Well, then the doctor came back in, and usually the doctor doesn't come back into the room after, whatever. So told me about the myocarditis, and I looked at Scott and I was like, I need you to call my mom.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be the one to tell her. Obviously, I was already a mess in general. I didn't want her to worry. I knew she was going to worry. I just didn't want to talk to her about it.
Yeah.
So I had Scott call her, and then she ended up coming down as well, or coming up, I guess. She drove from Tennessee, her and my grandma, when I went to the Ross Hospital. They came, made sure I was okay, hung out with me for a day, spent the night, and then left the next day because my mom had to go back to work.
Well, it's funny because when I was there, I remember they talked about certain numbers that you had to be within, right?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? So some very nice nurse came in and was like, oh, yeah, you're currently at X and we want you to be at Y. And we're like, okay, well, what's it going to take to be at Y?
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, yeah. Well, no, they, when they were testing my blood, they were testing for the troponin levels. And apparently the troponin levels are supposed to be at 0. I was at 5,000.
Wow. Yeah, right. I remember that. Yep.
Not very good. And so they were trying to get me to come down. They said that I was tested 3 times throughout the night. If they kept progressively going down, I'd be released in the morning.
Yeah. And so when I left, I think your numbers were coming down, but we were trying to hit some kind of target.
Yeah.
And the guy was very nice. He was like, hey, it could change. Tomorrow morning it could be at 2.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we were shooting for. So you did get there. They released you eventually. And then what's the journey been like since you were in the hospital?
Yep. So they basically told me that I couldn't do any physical activity until November 15th. So this was October 6th or the 7th when I was released. They told me I couldn't do any physical activity at all until November 15th was when I was meeting with the cardiologist again. November 15th rolled around. They did another cardiac MRI. They said that the myocarditis was getting better, but I was still having those really bad chest pains. So they didn't really like that too much. They put me on prescription ibuprofen for a week, said that if it's gone, I can come back, do the stress test, all of that. Well, after that week, I was still having the chest pains pretty bad. And then they ended up putting me on another prescription for 3 months. So I'm on a prescription for 3 months now. Yeah, not very ideal. But I decided after quite a few weeks, I met with my doctor, my team doctor, and we kind of decided to medically retire because of the waiting game, me still having these chest pains, not knowing what the outcome could potentially be, not really knowing the exact reasoning for, what was causing this. It was just really scary, and so we decided to just medically retire.
From October 6th, when I visited you in the hospital, to today, you haven't been able to practice. You haven't been able to have any activity whatsoever because they just weren't sure. And thank God for that. They're being cautious with your heart and everything related to it, because I think most of us would rather have you here than playing Division I softball.
Well, yeah.
But as a Division I softball player, that doesn't make it any easier. And when your teammates are out practicing, and they're probably off right now, I think they're probably on a little bit of break. I know there was fall and there was other games and practices and things that you were missing out on because you were told not to have any activity whatsoever. So how hard has that been for you as a Division I athlete, someone who has been active your entire life, to be told, shut it down, don't do anything? How hard is that?
It was really difficult. And I shared on my writing that we published.
Right.
It was super, super challenging. Me showing up to team practices, every week, my teammates being out there. There were actually a couple of my former teammates that would tell me that they completely forgot that I was on the team.
Right.
And that was super difficult. I have always been the type of person that's, loud, obnoxious out on the field. My teammates damn well knowing that I was there.
Yeah.
And so just hearing that from some of my teammates was super, super rough. It was challenging, not really being acknowledged when I was at practice. And just the physical aspect of it is another thing. Like you said, I've been super active my entire life, and now I'm just like sitting out.
Yeah.
I feel like a blob because I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was challenging for me.
There's so much we can unpack, and that's why I'm glad you're here and we're looking eye
Yes.
to eye, unlike a camera. But I think it's important because you mentioned it. So we have KaitlynCoffman.com. That's something we've created for you and with your partnership, in that we've opened up your blog. And now
Yes.
we're going to talk about what's next here in a few minutes. It's funny that we have this opportunity to have a platform for you, because I think so many athletes, and that's what I appreciate you. You're very vulnerable, very open in all of the things in your life that you've gone through. And one of those things is mental health, anxiety, depression, many things that you've been very open about. And I can't wait to read your blog as you continue to do it. But for now, not to do a plug, but you can find it at KaitlynCoffman.com. Click on blog and you'll see her writings. We've shared one on our platform as well. But I'm really excited for you to have that outlet, because I think as an athlete, you have to have some kind of outlet besides the ball field when the ball field's no longer there. When you were going through this, how have you processed, because you couldn't go hit a ball, go to practice, how have you found outlets even before you announced your retirement?
So, that's a really good question. I would honestly just say I listen to a lot of podcasts, this one included.
Shout out Unscripted.
Shout out. I would just say, I give softball lessons pretty much every day.
Yeah.
I mean, not really Thursday, Friday, but Monday through Wednesday. I give a lot of softball lessons, and that was kind of my outlet because I was still involved in softball.
Right.
And, helping others. And I actually was just telling one of my girls this, or my girl's mom this last night. I would much rather be coaching than playing.
Yeah.
And I know how weird or bad or however you want to describe it is, but that's the reality. I would much rather be sitting there helping an individual get better at this sport than me playing myself. I would just say, I was still being involved with softball through my lessons, working teams, practices. Yeah.
And this isn't a promo for your website, but I'm going to do a promo for your website. At the end of the day, on your website, there is opportunities for you to do lessons, speaking, and your blogs. We built your website before we knew you were coming back for your 5th year. So
Yeah.
just so everybody knows, this isn't a promo for the website, but hey, the website is there and Kaitlyn does lessons. And we'll talk about the summer in a second. I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that as a dad of 3 athletes, we screw them up. I know that in today's society, parents tend to follow the path and the stream. And before we know it, we're like, how did we get here? How much are we paying again? What team are they on? Because we're just doing the next thing. And in that process, I think the athlete, like yourself, is so important to current athletes, because they need to hear from someone like that and not their mom and dad. And their mom and dad are doing the best that they can. I mean that genuinely. I know that my wife and I did the best we could, but I'm pretty sure when I look back at it now, there's decisions I would have made that were different. So I think that's why your lessons are important. Your speaking is important. When you're talking to a young player, when you're doing lessons, what kind of things do you impart into?
Obviously, the physical stuff, just working on their swing, their defense,
Right,
whatever. but I tend to go more so of the route of boosting their confidence.
Yeah.
I know a lot of my girls that I work with, they struggle with their confidence. And there's nothing more that irks me than when I have one of my girls just get super, super down on themselves, especially when we're sitting in a cage.
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't the championship game of a tournament, you know, like we're in a cage. We're working on what you're working on. I try to, like I said, I try to instill more confidence in my girls, but I also try to teach them that softball is not who they are. And, you know, that's something that I didn't really know or understand until, I mean, the end of my college career, I guess. You know, junior year with my shoulder surgery, like softball was kind of taken from me in that aspect. So I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, senior year was different. And then this last year as well, softball's not who I am. Like I'm a totally different person, you know, outside of it. I'm so much more than what the sport is in general. So just trying to instill that in my girls as well. Like they are completely different than what, you know, like their coaches are looking at them as, you know, their teammates. They're so much more than softball.
You had to deal with, you said it, your shoulder, this setback. These kids that you're doing lessons with now have had to deal with COVID, not being in school, not being with their friends. Like our kids, we've done them a huge disservice. That's another political podcast for another day. Something you're very passionate about is the mental health aspect of not just the sport, but life. When you're imparting wisdom into the people you do lessons with, I know you do this already, but isn't that a big part of it? We're dealing with the mental as much as we're dealing with exit velos and all that crazy stuff.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that also just kind of goes back with the confidence aspect. I'm very open now.
Yeah.
You said this earlier that I was very vulnerable and open. I didn't used to be that way, but now I'm very open to the mental health aspect of it, where I can sit there and I can have that conversation and I can be vulnerable with my girls, encouraging them to be as vulnerable with me. Because I know it's a difficult thing, especially when you're younger. Like you have coaches, parents, etc., you know, telling you, well, just rub some dirt on it, you know,
Right.
just
right. Get over it.
Get over it. Whereas I try to be that outlet for them, for them to be vulnerable, to be vocal about what they're feeling. Because like I said, I know it's difficult to be that way, especially when you have outside factors kind of telling you to do the opposite.
Hey everyone, my name is Cami Pranel and I'm the Executive Director for My Unscripted. We hope you are enjoying today's interview. My Unscripted is dedicated to helping others find their voice, passion, and follow their dreams. Our team can help create websites, apps, YouTube channels, podcasts, media, and social content. Whatever your passion and vision, we can help. Our good friend Manny Ahome of Samaritan's Feet once said, "Make sure your dreams and goals are big enough to create room for others to join you." We've created room for you to join us too. Find out more at myunscripted.com. Now let's join Aaron for the second half of today's interview.
Well, let's say it right now. And again, this whole episode is not a promo for what you're doing, but it is, you know, there's opportunities. So if someone's listening to this, I think it will probably land in the softball community. If someone's listening to this, they're in the Columbus-ish area. You're doing lessons. Do you want to update? What's that look like? How do I get in contact with you? What's that information?
So right now I have a lot of parents reaching out to me through Facebook. I would say just through any of my social media platforms, my email, which we can attach at the end of this.
Yep.
Contacting me through email, social media. I would say my website, obviously.
Absolutely.
Just those three, you know, platforms. I would respond to those.
And you are at the shout out Spot Athletics.
I know.
We're sitting at the Grandview Spot Athletics, but you do lessons at the Dublin Spot Athletics. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
There you go. Shout out Spot Athletics for everything that they do. We're both blessed to have our office, quote unquote. Yours is a net, mine's a desk and it's a room. Shout out Spot Athletics for their support too of you and me and everybody else. So Okay. What's next?
Oh gosh. I don't know.
You graduate in 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
I think anybody listening to this that's a parent is probably going, yeah, I was there. I actually interviewed for a job 2 weeks before I graduated. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I went for an interview and spent 18 years in corporate America because of that job. But that was 2 weeks before I graduated. Before that, I was planning on going back to work in a lumber yard. That's a true story.
Mhm.
So you're not alone in that. But
Yeah.
you're 2 weeks away from graduating.
Yes.
What are your dreams? What do you want to do?
I am wanting to go through the fire department to become a paramedic or EMT. That's kind of my goal right now. Next semester, I'm going to be just working, trying to make money to pay my rent. But yeah, that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to help people, and what better way than to become a paramedic?
And your degree is
Speech and hearing.
speech and hearing. Heather asked me the other day, and I didn't get it right. I knew it was in there.
Aaron, how long have you known me?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She asked me, and I was like,
My God.
my brain's only so big.
Yeah.
How long have you known me? You're a massive part of our team, and have been. You did a camp this summer. Do you want to talk about that again? I can't remember. My brain's only so big. Did we talk about that on the last episode?
We didn't talk about the camp exactly because it was before the camp.
Okay, so you did a camp, and that's part of what we do for you
Yeah.
is we schedule these events. So speaking, camps, lessons, all those things through your website. We announced the launch of your website. What happened at that camp? Because it was pretty special. Can you
Yeah.
share a few stories from?
Yeah, it was really fun. I loved all the girls that, obviously attended. I had Cami Quartercracks and Mackenzie Bump from the Ohio State softball team helping me. It was a blast. I mean, I got to work with all these girls. We had lunch provided, which was really, really good. Super thankful for that. But we had a short little, period of time dedicated for talking about mental health, my faith in Christ. Cami and Mackenzie, they both shared their, journeys as well. We talked about just giving the girls scenarios, talking through how we manage our stress. Which, oh my goodness, I completely forgot about this until now. I had a couple girls that were in attendance and, with the camp. They stood up and kind of told their stories about, them dealing with their mental health. And it was amazing. Did I cry? Absolutely. Yeah, I did. But it was just so amazing to see that because I was being vulnerable, sharing my, story, that those girls stood up and talked about theirs. And it was just awesome. And, I talked to some of their parents afterwards and told them that, their daughters are amazing. They were super vulnerable, sharing their stories. But that was definitely my favorite part of the camp.
I don't have any daughters that play softball. I had a son that played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And the baseball community is very different than the softball community, although the sport is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, they're very, very different. And what I appreciate about you and Cami and Lexi, they're just different worlds. And I've appreciated how you, all three of you, have been so professional, intentional, careful. I'm just thinking of words when I think of you all with your social media, because I've seen it go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And the three of you are just super role models for young ladies. And I've just seen that. And so I think we talked after the camp and how to go. And, you told me stories. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't surprised at all because you're a role model. There's not a part of me that was surprised that these young ladies would be attracted to you because of who you are. And I think it's really important that you know that. And, in my 5 years in the community, if you want to call it that, the softball community, I've just seen both. And I guess I tend to respect. It doesn't mean I don't respect the other young ladies. I respect them all, but I respect y'all more because you've been able to rise above it. Your Instagram's not trashy. Your TikToks aren't trashy. Your Facebook's not trashy. Your Twitter's not trashy. And I'm not saying that the other people are trashy. I'm saying that we can get sucked into this world that says we should do this, this, and this. And you, Lexi, and Cammie have never done that. And I appreciate that. And Haley as well. 4 young ladies that I really respect in the softball world that have been able to rise above it. And that's why I want people to do lessons with you, because there's a lot of ways you can go, and there's a lot of people you can do lessons with, and a lot of places you can do lessons. Anyway, I just want to tell you that because I know after the camp, and shout out Tony Huff. Let's give Tony Huff a massive shout out. What he's doing with Battle Ready Softball is amazing. His heart is huge. He's doing some really, really great stuff, and I really appreciate and value Tony as well. We have a shirt. We created a shirt with our partners at 614 for the camp. Let's make that available. You want to do that again?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We can do that now. So, all right. That'll be, we'll have a link on Lexi's website, and it'll also be available on myunscripted.com/shop. We'll put it up there.
You say Lexi's website?
Did I say it?
You just called me Lexi.
I'm sorry. I have an edit button, so I can.
I am so offended.
Don't be offended. Can we talk about Lexi for a minute? Because she had the summer of Lexi. She was in Italy. And...
She gets enough attention.
Okay. Well, it's still Lexi.
She's amazing, and I love her, and I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
I really, really am.
And I know she's proud of you. And so, all right, we'll leave it at that. Shout out Lexi. We don't have LexiHanley.com yet. It may be coming. Anyway, Lexi, if you're listening, call me. Plus, we got to get Lexi's website. Anyway, no, Lexi's doing great things. She was in Italy all summer, and now where is she? I can't keep
she's
track.
coaching at Kent State. She's a volunteer assistant at Kent.
But she's going somewhere else. Japan? I think so. Maybe?
Yes.
I don't know. Anyway, go back and listen to her episode because it's up there. So I'm excited for your future. I know that life happens. I mean, I think anybody listening to this, and that's why I'm here, it's not about softball. Life happens. You know, we have our plans. What was it, John Lennon? Way before your time. I don't even know. Do you know who John Lennon is?
The Beatles.
Thank you. I just want to make sure you knew who he even was.
I did a research project on John Lennon.
Do you remember the quote he said about life?
No.
He said, life is what happens while you're busy making other plans.
That's nice. That was not a part of my project.
It's true. It's been true in my life. Life is what happens while you're busy making other plans. And so we make other plans. You had plans this year to play softball, and life happened.
Yeah.
And, but what I appreciate about you is you're not just going to be like, okay, well, that sucks. And life, I'm just going to, whatever. We have plans as a team with you. We're excited to see where you go now. Thank you for being our first in our brand new studios. Do you like the new studios?
I do. It's nice.
It is nice.
It's a little warm up here, but that's okay.
Warm? Like I have a little heater right
My
there.
armpits are sweating. That's probably why, because you have a heater back there.
It's not on. It's not on. All right. Anyway, we need to get out of here. Kaitlyn, thank you. Thank you for believing in us. From the day that you and I first met, you have believed in me. You have believed in us. We're not going to cry in this episode.
Absolutely not.
We're not going to do it.
No.
We've done it on the other ones. But no, thank you for believing in us, for believing in me, and just putting your trust in us and what we can do for you. So,
well, thank you.
I'm excited for your future.
Me too. And also, it wasn't a fumble.
It was so a fumble. Scott, it was a fumble. So...
It was a fumble. Yes, it was a fumble.
It was absolutely a fumble. See, you've already been around Scott too long. It was a fumble. So Scott, just so everybody could get up to speed, Kaitlyn's boyfriend Scott is a massive New England fan, and Kaitlyn and I are Raiders fans, and it absolutely was a fumble.
Yep.
We'll end it on that. Shout out Scott. Go Raiders. They're terrible. Anyway. Appreciate you, Kaitlyn. Thank you so much for being a part of our team.
Thank you. I appreciate it a
All right.
lot.
We'll talk soon.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Unscripted Podcast with your host, Aaron Conrad. Be sure to like, share, and follow on all your favorite podcast platforms.
Also, make sure to check out our song, When I Think About You, on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you enjoy your favorite songs.
We'll see you next time on Unscripted
with Aaron Conrad.
When I think about